How y'all doing? I'm Joshua Wiley, and this is LoudCry. Son of man, I have set thee a watchman for the house of Israel. Therefore you shall receive word from my mouth. Warn them for me. Warn them for me. Ezekiel 33, verse 7. Today on this episode, we're dealing with the devil's hound. I like to use the nickname, the devil's pit bull. The devil's pit bull. Beloved, let's take a walk. Let's take a walk back in time. Let's go back in time for a minute. There was a war in heaven. A war in heaven. The devil wanted God's throne. We know this. Everyone knows this. The devil wanted God's throne. He wanted to be worshipped. It got to the point to where he tried to literally take it by force. But of course, Jesus, way too powerful for him. Jesus created him, of course. Jesus and his angels kicked the devil and his angels out of heaven. This can be found in Revelation chapter 12, by the way. But Jesus and his angels kicked him out of heaven. Did the devil stop? No. He did not stop right there, beloved. The only thing that happened was the devil realized, okay, I can't take heaven by physically. I can't do it. You know, unlike us who like to lie to ourselves, a lot of men do. Even when we get defeated or someone may be stronger than us and we still feel like, oh, no, give me 2 years of training and I'm coming back, you know. Unlike us, the devil said, okay, I can't take it by force. I can't take it physically, but soon I can take it spiritually. Spiritually. And this brings in what I call one of the most, how should I say? I ain't gonna say misplaced. I'll say one of the most underlooked prophecies in the Bible. Beloved, ask yourself, have you ever been told about the prophecy of Daniel 8? Let's look at it real fast. Let's look at it real fast. Go to Daniel 8, and let's start at verse 11. Let's start at verse 11, beloved. It's about a little horn. Little horn. Matter of fact, let's go back up to verse 9. This little horn is the spiritual power that the devil uses. Now remember, in the very beginning, he tried to take it physically and by force. And he couldn't. And he knew he'd never have a chance to do it that way. But he knew if he can get a spiritual power to bring down the principles of heaven, then it's just the same as doing it by force. And this is why he doesn't want you to know about the prophecy of Daniel 8, 9 through 14. 9 through 14. Let's look at this little horn. Now, the little horn is this spiritual power that the devil's using. It's the spiritual power that the devil's using. Verse 9, I'm going to read pretty fast. And out of one of them came forth a little horn, which waxed exceeding great toward the south, toward the east, and toward the pleasant land. And it waxed great even to the host of heaven. And it cast down some of the hosts and of the stars to the ground and stamped on them. So we're reading where God says this little horn succeeded in casting down some of the stars of heaven. Some of the stars of heaven. Verse 11, yea, he magnified himself even to the prince of the hosts. So now he's making a mockery of Jesus. He's bragging, this little horn. And by him, the daily sacrifice was taken away, and the place of his sanctuary was cast down. So not only did the devil succeed in having this spiritual power go to heaven, but this spiritual power is in heaven, mocking Christ and just destroying all the principles, like it's basically causing a muck and destroying heaven. Verse 12, and a host was giving him against the daily sacrifice by reason of transgression, and it cast down the truth to the ground. And it practiced and it prospered. Then I heard one saint speaking, and another saint said to that certain saint which spake, How long shall the vision be concerning the daily sacrifice and the transgression of desolation, to give both the sanctuary and the host to be trodden underfoot? And he said unto me, 2,300 days. Beloved, this is the most underlooked prophecy in all of the Bible. We have a spiritual power attacking the principles of heaven. And as you've seen in verse 12 says, it cast the truth to the ground, and it practiced and it prospered. Beloved, this is LoudCry, and it's a must. It's a must. We expose these tricks and this trap that the devil has laid for you and I. You know, one way to keep somebody, one way to kill somebody is to not tell them at all that the trap is ahead. You don't even have to deceive them. You can just keep them from the knowledge of the trap. You know, you don't even have to deceive them. That makes it way much easier sometimes. You don't have to deceive them. You don't have to go, devil knows he doesn't have to go through those things. All he has to do is to keep you blind. Do you like being deceived? Think about your children. Think about your loved ones. Let's take a look at this devil's hound. And that's what I call the devil's hound, the devil's pit bull, is this little horn, this spiritual power that is attacking heaven and the principles of God. This is the devil's pit bull. This is the devil's hound. Beloved, take an honest look at yourself and your life and see which side you're really on. You may be on the side of the devil's hound and not even realize it. Because as you saw, it said, it cast the truth to the ground. So how much truth do you really have? It won't hurt to look. Walk with me as we see where the devil's hound is hiding. Let's go.
My thoughts on this subject here about how we have become like the image of Rome is that you look at society today, many things that take place in society today come from Rome. People don't even know what they're doing. Okay, they don't realize that things that they are doing, even sometimes myself, now I have a pretty good idea now because God gave me that spirit to seek and find, but before I didn't. So I'm here to let you know some of the secrets of Rome, of how it slipped into the United States, or what I call the divided states of America. Because we're not all equal. Like Rome divided us in our thoughts and our ways, so are we divided amongst each other. Okay? So let's get that clear. Now, how it crept in Rome's ideas. You look at the amphitheater in Rome. What do we have? We have movie theaters. Okay? There's a Comac Multiplex in New York, in Comac, New York. Has 16 different theaters. A big, huge movie theater, okay? That's where I used to live. So that alone, that came from Rome. You got MMA fighting. What they used to do in Rome, what they call gladiators. Be in the cage, fighting to the death. Them guys fought to the death. These guys just fight. And they get to walk away. Sometimes they walk away with a busted bone or whatever, or cracked skull, blood everywhere, but they're still coming out alive. Sometimes one man didn't come out. They fought to the death out there. And then you have the way the body, our government system is governed. All coming from Rome. We have the legislature, judicial, and executive. Okay? All these are different topics of Rome. Okay? So that lets you know, if our own judicial system, our own government system is coming from Rome, my point is that we have become a nation fashioned after Rome. We built our nation off of the foundings of Rome. So we are not even our own nation.
All right.
I believe the entertainment industry poses a lot of dangers because it's desensitizing us to things. Some of them are big things, some of them are little things. The other thing that's changed is the idea of authority has been taken away in most Hollywood developed things. Nobody has ultimate decision-making power. It's always a consensus, it's always an agreement. We all need to compromise, we all need to love each other. And they've taken away the authority of anyone to be in control. And that if you can't have that here on earth, how are you going to believe in a God that's in control?
Great point. What evil do you see in music and movies?
Evils? Well, I mean, it's a little bit harder sometimes because what I may see as unwholesome and evil probably isn't for everyone. But I know with my family that I get concerned because even just listening to types of music that I may condone and think are okay can still alter the way my children interact with each other. It can cause them to have a harsher tone with each other. It can cause them to be shorter with each other. And where you can't blame that completely on Hollywood or music, it doesn't help when you're trying to correct that behavior. Because they're seeing it as okay, and they're hearing that it's okay.
Great point. Great point. And last one. Why do you think people don't have a problem with the Catholic Church changing the Sabbath Saturday into Sunday? Or are they even being taught, and why?
For the largest percent, I would say most of them don't realize that it was ever changed. They honestly believe there's a verse in the Bible that says God changed it, that Christ changed it after the cross. They believe what they've been told. The other thing is, even if they do know that it was changed, they are more willing to accept tradition than to step out of the crowd and be different. And they don't see it as a matter of salvation.
Why do you think it was so easy for the Catholic Church to hide their past sins to where the world doesn't even focus on it anymore? Like,
no, it's not just past sins, it's current sins
yeah,
too.
And current. Go ahead.
Honestly, they have a great PR department. They do a wonderful job of spinning everything, and they've also programmed people for generations to believe that they have the ultimate say-so with God. So if you want to go against them, for these people that believe that the Pope is the intercessory with them for God, they honestly believe he can take away their salvation. And if you can't have salvation, if you go against him, why would you go against him? They don't see that there's any alternative.
What's your name?
Caitlin.
And say, this is LoudCry.
This is LoudCry.
Almost. That was close. That was close. That was close. All right. Now, what were you going to say about the changing of the law?
Well, with them changing the law, I mean, God put these things in place for us to follow. And he didn't tell people to change it. He didn't say, oh, instead of following the 7th-day rule, I want you to worship on the 1st day. So, I mean, many people, like you said on the last episode, they don't want people, they don't want to know that somebody else is the boss. They want to be in control of their own life. And I'm all for being in control of your own life. But I mean, there's a point where there's a difference between humans and God, your Father. I mean, He is not a deal to be reckoned with. He is the God who created you, and He can take you away just as fast. And so, with people thinking that, oh, I don't want anybody to be in control, He's in control either way. I mean, whether you want Him to be or not, He created you and He's in control.
And Jesus answered and said unto them, Take heed that no man deceive you. For many shall come in my name, saying, I am Christ, and shall deceive many. The warning we're trying to get here is, just because they have a 9-letter word in front of their name and say that they're a Christian does not mean they're a Christian.
How y'all doing? I'm Joshua Wiley.
I'm Andre Evans.
And I'm William Soto.
And, you know, all show we've been talking about the devil's hound. The devil's hound. Like call it the devil's pit bull. You know, this system. And just to reiterate to the people, you know, here, the devil attacked heaven physically. He tried to physically take God's throne. And Jesus and his angels kicked him out of heaven. Kicked out of heaven. And what he could not do physically, he got a power to do spiritually. Spiritually. And like we've been talking about all show, this is dealing with Daniel chapter 8. The prophecy in Daniel chapter 8, probably one of the most, as we say, silenced prophecies in the Bible of this spiritual power that attacks heaven. That attacks heaven. And the devil's hound. Again, you know, as we've stressed throughout our show, why isn't this being taught of this spiritual power who attacks the principles of heaven?
If the devil is the one behind all of this, he doesn't want to be known. That's why you see the devil portrayed as an individual with horns and red and tail, something that is comical.
Right.
And as long as we believe the devil is just that, then he can do his work. You know, while I was in the service, I was taught that I have to know, the more I know about my enemy, the easier it is for me to conquer my enemy. Yeah, the devil doesn't want you to know about him.
So it's basically like, how can you prepare if you don't know what you're facing?
That's right. That's right.
Very
So
deep.
the devil's right there. He doesn't want you to know about him.
We've talked about it at work numerous times, Josh. It's the same thing, touching on what Brother Soto has said. If you know about your enemy, you will think about how fierce he really is. As long as you can hide in the background and not reveal yourself, you have the upper hand and the advantage to play your cards in your favor.
Right. You know, back to this prophecy of Daniel 8, of this little horn who raises up and attacks heaven. And attacks heaven. You know, it's funny and strange at the same time, but it's saddening when you think about how this spiritual power was able to bring down some of the principles of God. Well, just for temporary.
And he's still trying to do that today.
Right.
I remember when I wasn't in the Word of God.
Right.
You know.
Right.
And how easy it was for me to fool other folk. And the way I did it was by telling some truth with a little bit of lie. And that's taking place all around us. The devil is doing that, and is getting away with it. The reason why he's getting away with it, that's the question. Why is he getting away with it?
To touch on what he's saying as to why I think he's getting away with it, is because we're not guarding ourselves with the truth. If you do not have the truth, you are destined to fail because of the lie.
So true. I want to show, like we said about knowing our enemy. And one thing about this beast that we've been talking about all show, the devil's hound. One thing that caught me as strange as how the description of this beast and the description of the devil himself is the same. It's the same. Let's look at that real quick. If you turn to Revelation 12, Revelation chapter 12, and if we look at verse 3, it says, "And there appeared another wonder in heaven, and behold, a great red dragon, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and 7 crowns upon his heads." And 7 crowns upon his head. Then we go over to Revelation 17 when it talks about this beast. Let's go to Revelation 17, and we'll go down to verse 3, and it talks about Babylon, the great whore, riding upon this beast. It says, 17 verse 3 says, "So he carried me away in the spirit into the wilderness, and I saw a woman sit upon a scarlet-colored beast, full of names of blasphemy, having 7 heads and 10 horns." It's we know in prophecy the word beast means kingdom. I thought it was funny how this kingdom has the exact same description as the devil himself. And so when people think that they're facing just this kingdom, they don't realize they are facing the devil himself, the devil's hound.
I'm glad you say that, but for the folks that don't understand or haven't taken the time to read, it also talk about this woman. Who is this woman? And as we study and we look and search the Bible, we understand that a woman stands for a church. Okay,
right.
The pure woman, the pure church, and
Right.
the impure woman, of course, the impure church. So there is a church that is also writing upon this. And so we get to talk a little bit about that. Nevertheless, just in that verse that you was reading, it says full of names of blasphemy. Blasphemy. What does the word blasphemy mean? What does it mean to you? What do you think the word blasphemy? Taking the name of God in vain in so many ways?
Yeah, I believe so many ways. Yeah, yeah.
Okay. And not necessarily just to curse or just to take God's name, but our actions. Again, blasphemy.
You know, I like how you brought up Babylon, the great whore, and how she's riding upon the beast. In our next episode, we're going to delve into her even more. And it's so likely we're in a war. And I think oftentimes we can forget that we're in a war. And if you don't know your enemy in any war, you will be defeated. You will be defeated. Can you imagine being a boxer, going into a ring, and you don't know who you're fighting? You don't know if he's left-handed, right-handed, 6'7", 5'2". You will be defeated. You will be defeated. But what's sad is this entity, this spiritual power, with the description of the devil himself, attacking heaven, and bringing down some of the principles of God.
And now he's over here on this earth, attacking earth. And bringing down the truth about God. And it is up to you and me to get out there and do what Isaiah tells us to do. I want to just read that real quick. And Isaiah chapter 55 and verse 1 says, 58 and verse 1 says, "Cry aloud, spare not, lift up your voice like a trumpet, and show my people their transgression and the house of Jacob their sin." We got to do that.
Amen.
When things are bad in our lives, we tend to, how should I say, we tend to look down, look up, because we have nowhere else to go. When things are good, though, we tend to just enjoy the benefits. I mean, if you look at the world, everybody's suffering except America. Even though things are not as great as America as it was like 5-10 years ago, it's still great. I mean, look at us today. We're picnicking. You know, people are dying and we're having a picnic.
I'm Natasha Mendez, and this is LoudCry.
LoudCry!
LoudCry.
Jasmine, and this is the LoudCry.
Awesome.
I'm Marvin Lohman, and this is LoudCry.
And I'd like to thank you for tuning in to LoudCry. And remember,
Remember now, the truth loves investigation. The truth loves investigation. Y'all have a blessed one.
Here is the patience of the saints. Here are they that keep the commandments of God and the faith of Jesus.
When I'm lost in the shadows, weary from the lies, when I'm nothing more than broken, you stand by my side. You fill my heart with wonder, and with every star that shines, it reminds